Good morning, early game crew. Wake up. It's Friday. Now, it's not a technical football Friday like we've traditionally had them, but there's still football tomorrow and this weekend. It's Friday. Therefore, we are counting it as a football Friday.
Elijah, you don't have to wake up. You have to rise up.
Oh, if you will. Zane Gonzalez rised up. Rised up?
Rose up. Rosed up. Roasted.
Josh Rosen?
Rosed it up.
He rose it up. He rose to the roof with a 43-yard field goal as time expired last night. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers downfall continues.
I was telling Elijah before the show, if we were having a better season, I'd be really pumped up right now.
Well, then I had to give Preston inner spot.
You treat this thing like a rental. So, yeah, I don't need to be tempered about, we're not looking good for next year in our contract situation. This is just a rental for me.
It's a rental.
So let's go. Rise up.
You can only emphatically say rise up on these airways for so long because there's a good chance you're gone next year.
It's a very good chance.
Sources are telling me in Preston Thorne's pending fandom free agency that looking elsewhere is a real possibility.
It's on the table. There's one specific condition I need met if I'm going to resign.
Does that require a coach firing?
We're going to have some administrative changes.
Yeah. Does that win help Raheem Morris? I don't think it does, but you know what? Makes you feel a little better about it. That's a good win for Raheem Morris, who beat a team that he got fired by.
As I saw on Twitter yesterday, one person made an argument that says, these are the type of things that happens to first or second year coaches trying to defend Raheem Morris. And another person said, this is Raheem Morris's 90th game as a head coach.
90. This is game 90. And he still has a winning percentage. You need to go back and pull it up because we went over it the other day. Not ideal. Raheem Morris's 90th game as a head coach, and he is career 37% winning percentage. 37. The win last night bumps him up to a career 39 winning percentage as the coach of the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, that might be my one contingency, but rise up.
For one night, rise up. Also, Raheem Morris, Hofstra.
Really?
And Marquise Colston, a no longer functioning football program.
Did not know that.
Yeah, R.I.P. the Hofstra football program. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. Captain David Dare behind the glass for us today. Jen Jensen taking care of important stuff. So Captain David Dare is going to be hanging out with us here for just a little bit. But it is a football Friday. It's an underrated football weekend because I remember this time last year, Preston Thorne, we were at the fairgrounds doing this very same show. Mm-hmm. The day before the Heisman announcement, mm-hmm. the day before the Celebration Bowl, mm-hmm. Army-Navy, mm-hmm. A Bowl. It's Boise State, Washington. That's a fun one. That's a really fun one. And that's Saturday. So we're really kind of getting into bowl games.
What's the conference affiliations on that one?
Mountain West and Big Ten. Now, is the LA Bowl traditionally that? I couldn't tell you what the LA Bowl traditionally is because I don't know what the LA Bowl used to be or if it came from the rib of some corporate executive who decided to make this all. I know Jimmy Kimmel used to.
That's what I was saying. Is this the one that they've been kind of passing around trying to find a home for?
I think so, yeah. It hasn't stuck in terms of a sponsorship. But we get to see Boise State and Washington play where the Rams play and the Chargers play. So that's a pretty fun one, too. And I hate that the line on that one's gone up to 10 for Washington because I took Boise State in the underdog challenge at 9.5. And you know what? I'd like to take that extra half point. I'd like to weasel that out a little bit. That would be pretty fun. But as it pertains to the football weekend, the Heisman race usually is like the headliner, right? Did this year's Heisman race have less juice because the two leading candidates played for Indiana and Vanderbilt? Or did it make it more intriguing? I feel like this was probably as close as we've had in a while.
That's a really interesting question. I mean, there's a whole idea of what the Heisman is, what the Heisman was. Is it the same thing as it was? Does it mean the same thing? All of those sides is a bigger conversation. But just for this year specifically.
He wins it. Last year, I had a feeling Travis Hunter was going to end up winning it, even though I didn't necessarily agree with the choice. I was definitely on the Ashton Jeanty bandwagon. But this one, I wouldn't be upset if it went anyway. I would be a little bummed if Jeremiah Love won the Heisman as a running back, despite not having anywhere near the year Jeanty did last year, Jeanty not winning it. But between Mendoza and Pavia, or even Julian Sand, look, I mean, you don't even realize how great of a year he had because they just beat the hell out of everybody they played. And I think that does kind of factor into it a little bit. I think there's an element of maybe Ohio State fatigue.
Yes.
Or it's assuming that anybody could do this. You know what Julian Sand's completion percentage was this year? 78%. He completed 78% of his passes. And if you look at his game logs, there were a few games, not just like one game, but there were a few games this year where he ended up completing, or he ended up throwing more touchdown passes than incompletions.
More TDs than incompletion, INCs, not even INTs.
Uh-huh.
Wow. Okay.
Like against Grambling, 18 for 19, 4 touchdowns, so 1 incompletion, 4 touchdown passes. Against Penn State, 3 incompletions, 4 touchdown passes. And he got close a couple of other times. But like against Minnesota, 4 incompletions, 3 touchdown passes. Against Wisconsin, 6 incompletions, 4 touchdown passes.
Does head-to-head count in the Heisman?
I don't see why not.
Okay, so he lost head-to-head to Fernando.
Yes, so if you want to do the tail of the tape in that Big Ten title game, Fernando Mendoza did complete 15 of his 23 for 222, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Julian Sand completed 21 of 29 for 258, 1 touchdown, 1 interception.
Comparable.
It was very comparable. I would say it is incredibly comparable.
But okay, that's cool. But could I pick Julian Sand out of a lineup?
I will say he's going to look like the one that has to be like ID'd before he gets into the building.
Sir?
He's got the biggest baby face like in college football by far. He looks 15.
I don't necessarily think I know what he looks like. Without Googling his image, without image searching him right now, I'm not necessarily sure what he looks like.
Never seen him without a helmet. It's funny because in interviews, I'm like, son, you are 12 years old.
I would have never picked him.
How are you throwing 31 touchdown passes in a season as the quarterback for Ohio State? You are 12 years old. You are not old enough to be in college.
Don't think I could have picked him out of a lineup.
Like if we nicknamed, as a collective society here, if we nicknamed Gordon Hayward, because that was his nickname, the babyface assassin, what is Julian saying? Mm-hmm. He's an infant. It definitely looks younger than everybody else, mostly because he is younger than a lot of them. I think he did get into high school or get into college a little bit earlier. But I really think it's between the quarterbacks. And unfortunately, the Heisman is that way for the most part. Mm-hmm. And every year I kind of like to distinguish one player that's not a quarterback as a Heisman winner. I call it the Larry Fitzgerald Award because Larry Fitzgerald got robbed simply by virtue of not being a quarterback. I'm never going to let that one down. That's a grudge I've held since I was 8 years old with Heisman voters. That Jason White won the Heisman over Larry Fitzgerald. Like, ridiculous. What were we doing? I'm not getting over that. But I do like to honor one player with a Larry Fitzgerald Award. And that one's a runaway this year. Julian Love is by far your winner on that one as the best non-quarterback in college football.
Yeah, he should. It should if it was carrying over, his Heisman moment is actually happened last year in the CFP on that run. Where he got in the end zone. That was actually
the 99-yarder.
Yeah, that's actually his Heisman moment. He had that one and the one where he was getting in the end zone and dragging people into the end zone too.
Oh man, against Penn State. Yes. Oh my God.
Maybe his my moments for him were actually last year. I don't know how, and I'm sure that's not how it works. But those were my favorite moments from Julian Love. So,
Jeremiah Love.
From Jeremiah Love. So yeah. So I guess that doesn't necessarily work out. But if they were to put those I hope those plays are in his highlight package.
Oh, they should be. They absolutely should be, even though it has no bearing on like the actual voting this year. Jeremiah Love did do some stuff this year that is insane. Like the game against Southern Cal, which is their biggest win of the year, like the team's highlight, ran for 228 on 24 carries. Ran for 136 the next game on 17 against Boston College. 147 at Pitt on 23 carries. My favorite one, though, was in that evisceration of Syracuse. 8 carries for 171 yards, 3 touchdowns. He picked up 21 yards a carry.
They put up 70 points that game, did they?
They did. The funny thing about that game was that Notre Dame had a 21-0 lead before they took a snap.
Mm-hmm.
Like C.J. Carr's first snap in that game, they had a 3-touchdown lead.
Shout out to the quote machine, Fran Brown. Rough year for you. You still provided some dandies of quotes, but just wasn't quite the same when you're getting beat 70-0. Or 7, I'm sorry.
They did. It was 70-0. I think they did tack one on late. But he even did provide a good one. Like after the game, he goes, yeah, we needed that. That's going to make us better. I'm like, you know what? I appreciate that approach. Some coaches are complaining about, oh, they're running up the score. That made us better.
Yeah, actually, he did have a couple of good ones because he had the one where he was with, this wasn't at a press conference, but it was him and Michael Irvin, where he was shaking Michael Irvin's hand and he said, don't get used to this. We're going to be back next year.
Yeah, don't get used to this.
Michael Irvin was like, what? All right, man.
I love that guy so much. Like, if I'm an athletic director at any non-dominant powerhouse, you know, like that shtick probably doesn't fly at places like Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia. But you know where that does fly? Places like Syracuse that need a little extra juice to get into relevance. And they're bad this year. I think they'll be back because he's such a good recruiter. And his team was so young. They had to replace a lot of dudes from that team the year before. My man Fran Brown, the quote machine, will be back. Or at least the quotes are going to be back. Well, usually every week we do a segment called Run the Ball. Shout out Brent Key. That's actually the name of my bowl pick and pull that I make every year. I usually pick something from the college football season that brought me joy, and our sounder of Brent Key brought me joy.
Run the ball.
Well, how's South Carolina going to run the ball coming up this next season with Kendall Briles as the new offensive coordinator, with a new offensive line coach, and with a new running backs coach? Well, we'll discuss how that run game might look different coming up next here on the Early Game.
All right, one problem, it's on 26 westbound just before I-95. So if you're traveling out there, 169-mile marker, the traffic's going to drop from 73 miles an hour down to 17. So be careful about that. Now, your weather outlook, it's going to be a nice weekend. Going to be warmer. Yep. Friday, mostly sunny with highs near 60 today. It's going to be a great afternoon. Saturday, even warmer with highs in the mid-60s. You'll expect sunny skies throughout that day, but then, Sunday night, it's our least favorite visitor, the Arctic blast, dropping temperatures into the teens for Monday morning, low of 19 degrees and windy too. But get this, by Thursday, high of 67. Mother Nature is drunk. What can I say? This is Captain Dave.
With a new offensive coordinator in Kendall Briles, with a new offensive line coach, Randy Clements, with a new running backs coach and Stan Drayton, the offensive coaching staff is going to look a lot different. But with those three things specifically, your play caller, the guy who's coaching, the guy who's carrying the ball, and the guy who's coaching, the guy who's blocking, the guy who's carrying the ball, how different can we expect this run game to look? I think, again, kind of like the Kendall Briles hire in general, there is going to be a visible floor raising. Now, what the ceiling looks like, I'm not 100% sure because, I mean, you can go back to Kendall Briles and Randy Clements at TCU the last few years, and running the ball, they weren't spectacular at it. Wasn't necessarily the strength of those offenses, whether that was a personnel issue, maybe a development issue, don't know what it was, but it wasn't necessarily their strong suit, but they've done it together in the past, right? You think about Baylor, with Randy Clements being an offensive line coach during some of the years where they ran for 300-plus yards a game. And Randy Clements, individually, aside from Kendall Briles, has had some seasons at North Carolina where his running units were one of the best in the country, right? They had a very successful running game. Stan Drayton has been able to identify a lot of talent and help develop it. Bijan Robinson being one of those examples of a guy he identified, helped develop to where not only was he a five-star prospect, he was a guy who ended up being a top 10 pick in the NFL draft because of how good he was at Texas. So you've seen isolated examples with all three of these men and their history in being able to improve the run game. What do we expect it to look like when they all team up here in Columbia?
I expect there to be some rhythm to the run game. There to be a flow to how they actually put plays together, design them, and plays build off one of another. Last year, keep harping on it, but it happened. So we have to keep talking about it. But there was not any flow. There was not design. It felt grab bagged. It wasn't a run game. They were running plays. We would run a play here, run a play there, but nothing ever seemed to build on each other. And I think probably the biggest reason why that happened was because those two dudes ain't know each other.
No.
Mike Shula didn't know Lonnie Teasley. Mike Shula didn't know Sean Elliott. They didn't know each other. They didn't speak the same language. They spoke general football, but they didn't speak the same. They don't have the same. It's like two people having inside jokes, like with your best friend. You have inside jokes. Like you can give each other a look, and that look can mean 10 different things. The same look might mean this one time, it might mean this another time, or it might mean we were referencing something that happened 10 years ago another time. That's how everybody, in fact, I would say the way you gauge your relationships is how many inside jokes you have.
How much your vernacular changes.
Can you just say, I have one of my best friends, shout out to Jonathan Austin, that's my guy. He played with me here. All I have to look at him and say, sir, and he knows exactly the moment I'm talking about. Nobody else, not our wives, not our children. It's just me and him. And all I have to say is that to him. I say that because Kendall Briles and Randy Clements have a lot of that because they've worked so much together. They can reference old plays. They can reference old players. That language needs to be had when you're creating this type of system. So, yeah, I obviously think that the floor will be raised because we now actually have a system in place instead of just random plays.
That chemistry is really important the more you think about it, too. I mean, when it comes to like making that offensive line coach hire, do you think that might have been the most important thing with somebody who's had a camaraderie with whoever you're bringing in as an offensive coordinator? Because it's different if you're just hiring one position. Like if the only vacancy you have to fill was the offensive line coach, that might not factor into it as much. But does that chemistry and that camaraderie and the comfortability probably make it to where that's the only place you should look when it came to bringing in an offensive line coach?
Yeah, I've 100% thought whoever the OC was needs to have the reins to bring in his O-line guy if he had one. Most of them do. Just because there's so much unspoken that needs to happen that I can't be over there with you every single time telling you how I want things done. You need to know those things, and you need to be able to preempt some of those things. I go back to the same conversation. Like, you need to be in the house like, hey, don't do that. You know, mama's going to get mad when you do that. Let's not do that, right? Before we even get to this conversation, let's not even let Kendall see us doing this because I know he's going to be pissed off when he sees this. Yep. So I'm going to take care of it now. Those type of things need to happen between a group. I would say it's probably even more important for there to be chemistry between the OC and the O-line coach than it is just to go get a quote-unquote stud O-line coach. Because you could be great, but if you're not great in this system, then you're not great.
I think it's going to allow Kendall Briles to do more of what he wants to do. And we've heard clips several times of, like, especially when it comes to RPOs and mixed plays. It's like, I'd like to do 80%. Like, that's such a large portion of your offense is being those type of mixed plays, things that involve a lot of reads. And so much of those require everybody to be on the same page. And if your coaches are pretty aligned, that should, in theory, translate to the players being pretty aligned too. Like you think about all of what's happening during an RPO, like your standard RPO. The offensive line has to run a really specific scheme, but not get too far downfield in case the quarterback decides to pull it and pass it, right? Because RPOs, offensive linemen are inherently going to be in a run blocking scheme. Mm-hmm. But if you get a little carried away and you get down to the next level and the ball leaves the quarterback's hands, that's a flag, right? There's a lot that has to go on in terms of synchronicity that probably requires all coaches on the staff to be on the same page. But with your quarterback's coach and offensive coordinator and your offensive line coach, knowing what to teach is vitally important. And those guys at least have a very similar background. That's not something I really thought of until the last day or so.
Yeah, I think that's extremely important. Also, the idea of somebody, the O-line coach, being able to say, we cannot do that. Instead of saying, oh, yeah, we could try. All right, cool. If no. I'm sure Randy Clements and Kendall have worked long enough where he say, Kendall, no.
If he says, Kendall, we can't block this, Kendall probably knows, oh, man, he's right, we can't block this. Or if it's somebody he's just been working for a little bit, and, like, heaven forbid you work with somebody and you're like, this person doesn't know what they're doing. And then they say, hey, we can't block this. You're like, okay, whatever, dude. All right, this is what we're going to run. And then it doesn't get blocked or for whatever, or if it works, then there's a brokenness of trust right there. Mm-hmm. But with those guys, with the history that they have, I feel like that's probably not going to be an issue in terms of, like, if Randy Clements says, hey, I love the play you just called, we can't block that. What else you got? Then I think that's probably the best case scenario is somebody who, A, will keep it real with you, B, that you can trust to keep it real with you, and C, whose opinion on anything when it comes to the stuff in the trenches of what you can and cannot do, you can roll with.
Yeah, I think, and then even, that's play calling, but then that's probably also evaluation. You trust his evaluations. He's evaluating things for the system that you're running. Because as we look at what we have or what we had the dudes on the offensive line, but what system were they being recruited to? Because maybe they were actual 4 or 5-star guys, but they maybe weren't able to get the things done that we needed to get done. And there maybe was a 3-star guy whose skill set may fit this system better. Mm-hmm. But that's all part of us having a vision, knowing where we're going, and being able to work within that.
Which makes you feel like if you do have a successful year this year, and you do need some coaching staff continuity, and you run it back in 27, that you're then able to start recruiting that type of system. Everybody's aligned with what you're looking for when it comes to the player evaluation part. Because like what you said is I think, so applicable everywhere. Some offensive line recruits are highly touted, but they just don't do the things particularly well that you base your offense on. right? And if they don't do that, they're not going to be successful. And that's where a lot of the rub is, right? If you recruit an ace pass protector, but you run a zone blocking scheme 70% of the time, but they're not great in zone blocking schemes, then it's not going to work. But in this type of setup, where everybody is so aligned on what the vision of the offense is, identifying those players can be better. Mm-hmm. And then maybe you would be more comfortable taking the 3-star that blocks that really, really well. And there is probably more likelihood that whole combination of player and team actually works out.
Yeah, and so I do think because the run game is so intricate, you need all those levels of communication to work at these different levels of staff. So I think this is inherently a step up before we even get to getting on the field things.
Do you remember the summer of 2010?
Probably not.
I do, because that was the summer that LeBron made his decision. And we had this scheduled televised TV event of the decision on ESPN.
I do remember that summer.
Now, this winter, we're going to have a couple decisions here in Columbia, South Carolina. They're going to be big. They're not going to be on ESPN, but they're mightily important, and we'll talk about that next.
Press here for our friends at Integrated Media. It's that time of year, the holiday season. What better gift could you give than to call the folks from Integrated Media and get an outdoor setup set up? Because while we're in holiday season now, spring is right around the corner. And that's the perfect time that you can use to enjoy all of the outdoor entertainments. What does that look like? Samsung Terrace TVs that are waterproof, Sonos outdoor speakers for TV and music, Wi-Fi that works indoors and outdoors. So you can have all your devices running at the same time, preventing any lag time. Your iPad, your laptop, your cell phone, your TV, all running, all playing sports, all working with the folks from Integrated Media. So call Nathan and Michael at 803-948-8327. That's Nathan and Michael at 803-948-8327. Or you can reach them online at integratedmediainc.com.
All right, some good news. That earlier wreck on 926 down near 95, rolling much better now. We're up to 40 miles an hour. Not bad. Okay, your weather outlook for today, 60 for a high, overnight low 37, Saturday 65 for a high. Very nice day. Sunday, though, the Arctic blast moves in. 55 for a high on Sunday, but overnight low 19 degrees. Monday, 39 is your high, and an overnight low of 22. But then, by Thursday, 67 for a high. I don't know what's going on. You tell me. It's Captain Dave.
So in July of 2010, LeBron James, pending free agent, sat down at an interview with ESPN at the Boys and Girls Club of Cleveland to announce to the world, before telling anybody else, that he was taking his talents to South Beach.
What a moment.
Known as The Decision. And, buddy, I've never been more mad, not because of just like where he picked, but because it took them forever just to get to it.
Yeah.
That was the ultimate get on with it television event I've ever like been a part of.
I believe the story was they had sold 90 minutes worth of programming and they had to fill it.
They only needed 90 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like you only need 90 seconds there. And even then, you could just say it off the top and then talk about the decision the rest of the way. Whatever. But this winter, not summer, a couple of big decisions need to be made. I would have narrowed it down to 3, varying in importance. But the first domino to that fell yesterday. Jalen Kilgore, according to Pete Thamel, is declaring for the NFL draft and is going to forego his last season of eligibility at South Carolina.
And according to his X account.
According to his, yes.
He also posted it, and his father posted on top of it, so we have triple verification in the most 2025 way.
This is the truest form of verifying, the ultimate form of verifying what somebody's decision with their future is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
You've reached the holy trinity. Pete Thamel, individual Twitter account, father's Twitter account. We have everything, right? But that still leaves Lenora Sellers and Dylan Stewart. Now, if we want to start with Lenora Sellers, how much do we think the hiring of Kendall Briles and what they've done with the offensive coaching staff will impact what Lenoris decides to do? I think it has a little impact. I don't know how great it is because there's still some other variables here that are yet to be known, which is what he's getting in terms of feedback from the NFL. Because if they're saying, hey, look, there's a chance you can fall into the 3rd round, then yeah, then coming back is probably the best idea in an offense that suits you. But if there's even 2 teams that are like, hey, if you're at our spot in the 2nd round, or hey, you're at our spot late first, like a team like the Los Angeles Rams that have 2 first-round picks, including 1 late and 1 in the top 10, where they're like, hey, we want to develop you, but we're going to get you at the spot, then maybe going into the NFL draft is a smarter decision.
Yeah, and this is where I don't know what Lenoris's personal motivations are, because depending on what his personal motivations are, maybe what tips the scale one way or the other. If he's a guy that's just, he really has the motivation to come back to college, maybe graduate on time or win a national championship for his home state school, that might be his motivating factors, then the Kendall Briles conversation really would play a huge role in that, because previous to that, there was nothing there. There was really, I would have argued there were really no reasons to come back. Now he actually has a system, he has a coordinator, somebody who he's talked to. I'm sure he's had a conversation with him already. Maybe multiple, right? But if his motivations were, I just want to go to the league, man, then it probably doesn't even matter too much, because, the money issue is not as big a thing as he once was prior to NIL conversations. Also, last year with the NFL developing where second-round guys are now getting guaranteed money, that's off the table. So if he just wants to go to the league, I think that option is available too. So it's going to come down to what his personal motivations are, and I'm not privy to that. And he hasn't really. I haven't seen anything where we've gotten a clue into how his brain is working in that process.
Because again, this is all a personal preference. Like he only gets one career.
Mm-hmm.
He's only got one life. These are his decisions to have to make. There's just a lot of different variables, and I think one of the variables of who you're going to take as the offensive coordinator, I think could assume is probably a big part of that, right? Knowing what offense you're going to run,
yes,
what his quarterbacks that he's developed looks like. And I think the thing with Kendall Briles that he has as a really good bargaining chip is KJ Jefferson, right? Because SEC, quarterback who did a lot of read option stuff, very similar build. I think we established KJ Jefferson a little doughier than Lenora Sellers.
Great word.
Nice way of putting it. And Lenora Sellers is definitely faster than KJ Jefferson.
They both weigh 240. But it ain't the same.
It's a different 240. Let me tell you right now. It is a different 240. Or here's another one. They wear it differently. Both 240, they're just wearing it a little differently. But I think that track record in like that specific example with how that Arkansas offense was able to punch above its weight class and win 9 games in 2021 has to be really intriguing for someone like Lenoris, and I think that does make it a closer decision on the surface without knowing any other details about what he's thinking about.
Yeah, it makes it to even a conversation because, as I stated before, I didn't really think there was much of a conversation to be had if we didn't have an offensive coordinator and there was no guarantee that what was going to happen. I really didn't think there was any reason to come back, to be honest, if I was advising him. But now you have to obviously sit down and listen, and if his motivations lie with wanting to get something accomplished on the college level, or if he feels like the job's not done or he hasn't fulfilled what he needs to, or maybe he just feels like there's some more development that can happen before the league, I think now there's that potential opportunity there.
And another big one, too, Dylan Stewart. And it's not whether
different conversation.
Yes, not whether or not Dylan Stewart's going to go to the NFL draft, because in 2027, I think we can go ahead and say he's going to be a first-round pick in the NFL draft. The question is he coming back here? Because he survived an offseason where he had multiple teams bidding ridiculous numbers for Dylan Stewart's services. A, do you have the money to be able to retain him? And B, is he want to come back for another year, despite maybe not putting up the same numbers he did his freshman year, but for clear and obvious reasons, right? A lot of teams got away with holding him a lot, right? They're a lot more physical with him and got away with being a little more physical than him than maybe anybody else. But is this a situation in which you can retain somebody like him? Because that would make a world of difference if you're able to bring both of those guys back and have the quarterback and the guy rushing the opposing quarterback.
Yeah, and again, what we got to get into his brain. What is he thinking? What I think we do know is that South Carolina will present a competitive NIL package, so that's not necessarily going to be the deciding factor. There may be other deciding factors as to why he decides to stay and or leave. Obviously, his services are highly valued across the country. Good on him. Don't we all wish we was in a situation where there were people were bidding for your services? That's a really cool spot for a young person to be in. We'll see what his decision's been. He's already made the decision once. But it's kind of like when that donut's sitting there, man. You walk by, well, I'm not eating that donut, man. I don't want it. It's still sitting there. He's like, give it.
10 minutes later, and you're like, well, that donut didn't get any warmer. I'm a little hungrier now than I was 10 minutes ago.
So how many times can you say no? I don't know. This is another time. This will be the last time, but it is imperative. This is where Sterling Lucas has to re-recruit him, show the vision, maybe go get another dude in the transfer portal to show him that, hey, we're really serious about this, and see what he says. But I think South Carolina, at bare minimum, will present a competitive NIL package, so that won't be the deciding factor.
Yeah, the donut analogy wouldn't work with me as well because I have no self-control, especially when it comes to warm Krispy Kreme donuts. But the college football playoff technically starts a week from today. But that hasn't stopped us from having a strange and unexpected injury plot twist. Holy Martin Gramatica, Batman. We'll tell you what happened coming up next. We don't even have one play of sample size of the college football playoff yet before an injury has potentially damaged a team's chances of winning a national championship. And this kind of got glossed over the weekend because of the selection and because of the reaction of what happened in that Big Ten championship game. But Indiana's Stephen Daly, defensive lineman, was a transfer from Kent State, having a really good year, leading the country in tackles for loss, almost has 20 TFLs. And he's got 5.5 sacks on the year. A real impact player for them, and even had a really good game in that Big Ten title game where they were able to knock off the number 1 Ohio State Buckeyes. 6 quarterback pressures and a sack of Julian Sayin in that game. Well, after the game, Stephen Daly is celebrating with Indiana's fans, doing what almost everybody does after a win like that. You go, you thank your supporters, you're giving high fives, you're shaking hands, you're kissing babies. And he jumps up to give somebody a high five. He lands a little awkwardly on his leg. And he has to be carted off the field while his team is celebrating a Big Ten championship. Now, it's not quite Martin Gramatica bad where he celebrates making a field goal by jumping up in the air and then landing awkwardly. It's about as freak accident as it can get. But Curt Cignetti did describe the injury as serious. The quote says, I can't confirm he did sustain an injury, a serious injury that will probably make him not available for the remainder of the season.
Man.
Can't win them all, Indiana.
Tough spot.
Yeah.
Tough spot. I'm looking at the video here. Most unathletic move of his whole career, by far.
Like he didn't even jump.
This looks like something that just happened to me a couple of days ago. You know, you step off the curve the wrong way. Oh, it looks like he's a bad spot. What do we do? This is a phenomenon because this is happening. This is happening around sports world. Clemson had two dudes get hurt celebrating earlier this season. We've had a couple of other situations. So while Martin Gramatica is the known guy, this is a thing.
Like, congratulations, Martin Gramatica. You'll always be known for that.
Yeah. So this is happening. I don't know what you say to that, man.
Like, you watching it, I mean, usually you see it's like an awkward landing. That's how it was kind of characterized. But, like, it looks more like he's planting. It happens when he's planting, which could happen anytime.
I will say this, though, because he is such a soldier. He did whatever he did to his leg, continue to slap fives.
Yep.
Continue to go through because either embarrassment or sheer determination.
I'm not hitting the deck right there. No. I don't want more attention on me in that situation.
You know that first reflex whenever you trip, you got to look around to see who saw you.
You're immediately looking at who saw you.
He definitely did one of those. He was like, I'm going to keep slapping hands because if I stop, this is going to look real bad.
No. And you know what? To a much less degree, been there before. 6th grade, we're on a field trip at a state park, and everybody's jumping out of the swings, and you're trying to impress the ladies, and I landed on my ankle a little bad. I sprained it really bad. And you know what? All the girls were watching. I couldn't act hurt. I couldn't. And that was right before we had to do our mile hike.
Oh, no.
So the entire time, that thing hurts so bad, but I cannot tell anybody. I can't. And I'm limping the entire time. I'm like, Elijah, you okay? I'm like, yeah, I think my foot's asleep. No, it's not. I sprained my ankle really bad. Really bad.
That's called grit. Some people call it determination.
And there were a couple of times like you're like, hey, you gotta stop a little bit. I'm just getting a little winded. Like,
winded in 6th grade?
Yeah, winded in 6th grade. Like, and really, it's just like, my ankle hurts so bad. Obviously, like, not the same degree, but my man powered through it. He's like, I can't derail the celebration of winning a Big Ten title and beating Ohio State because I got Gramatica'd in the aftermath.
I needed 30 for 30 on the person whose hand he was slapping when it happened.
I hope that fan has some survivor's guilt. That fan's probably like, why couldn't you take in my ACL or whatever it was? God, why couldn't you take mine? Me. Why couldn't it have been me? Especially if, they play. Try to think of who they get. They get the winner of Alabama, Oklahoma. So if they play, say, Alabama, they just can't get any pressure on Ty Simpson. He sits back in that pocket and throws for like 400. and it's clear that losing Stephen Daly made the difference in that game, that Indiana fan forever is going to be talking about how his high five of Stephen Daly derailed the ultimate dream season that program never thought they'd ever have. Congrats having to live with that one, buddy.
At least you got
that is a cursed hand. A cursed hand.
Man.
You know, like when some people like high five a celebrity or shake a hand of a celebrity, like, I'm never washing my hand again. Sir, you need to sage yours.
Yeah. Or just don't tell anybody it was you, even though it's on camera. You can never say that in public.
Get Steve Bartman. Something that's totally normal that everybody else does. Yours just so happened to end in disaster.
We'll keep an eye on this.
Yeah,
developing.
So something to keep an eye on. That probably went under the radar when it came to your sports feed, especially considering what's happened in the Big Ten of all places the last 24, 48 hours. But that's something to watch for in the college football playoff. Hour number 2 coming up next. We're talking Heisman voting. Like, writer's block is a thing, right? But so is gift-giving block, right? Because you're giving gifts for so many people that sometimes it can be hard to give gifts over the holidays for certain members of your family or loved ones. But if they're a golf lover, oh, I got good news for you. Fear not, because you can gift them membership to Pro Swing. Right? Because Pro Swing, for any golf lover, whether it's the Chapin location or the Forest Acres location, has the Golf Zone simulators that you can normally rent by the hour. And, of course, the memberships are available. So call 803-592-3916 for more information, or go to ProSwingColumbia.com to book anything online or find out more about memberships, because the Golf Zone simulators are fantastic in golf. Anywhere you can imagine, you get all this cool information on your swing that you can't get anywhere else. And they also have free swing evaluations, and lesson packages are also available for that golf lover in your life. Again, 803-592-3916, or hit them up at ProSwingColumbia.com.
All right, on the roads this morning, right now, rolling along pretty well with no big major tie-ups. But then again, let's look at our weather. Now, it's going to be very nice for this weekend, today and tomorrow. Highs in the mid to higher 60s. Very nice. But then Sunday night, it's going to get cold. That Arctic blast going to move in, dropping the temperatures to the upper teens for Monday morning, and the low 20s for Tuesday morning. And, yeah, it's going to be quite cold. Your highs are only going to be very low, too, in the 30s for both of those days. But then by Thursday, I had 67 for a high. This is Captain Dave with the Traffic Center.
Hour number 2 of the early game here on a Football Friday starts right now. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. He's Captain David Dare behind the glass, rocking his Cobra Kai Christmas sweater. Dave decided, you know what, I'm going to get up early. I'm going to look fly doing it. I can appreciate that effort.
I haven't done laundry yet, actually. But.
Also, another reason why sometimes you will see me wear something nicer than usual and say, well, Elijah's looking really good today. Well, it's because I've run out of casual options. I've been too lazy to do my laundry. Just easier to do on the weekend, you know? It's an excuse for me to stay home and watch football. Like, I got
another load to do.
Got all this laundry, so I got to tend to it. While I wait, I'm just going to have, 4 football games on my TV at once. Work smarter, not harder, fellas. If I can give you any advice, that's it. Work smarter, not harder. But this weekend, Saturday, tomorrow, the Heisman Trophy will be awarded. And I really think there are 4 finalists, but I think it's really a three-player race here. It's the quarterbacks, and really 2.
I think it's 2
because of the storyline, right? Because of Diego Pavia and Fernando Mendoza doing it in places no one has done this. Indiana, this is their first outright Big Ten title since World War II. This is Vanderbilt's first 10-win season ever. They have never won 10 games in a season.
Really awesome accomplishment.
Like winning 10 games at Vanderbilt in a regular season is like winning 20 games in a regular season for anybody else. You know why? Because no one's ever won 20 games in a regular season, because no one plays 20 games in a regular season. And it's the same thing because Vanderbilt's never won 10 in a season.
I mean,
I thought it was impossible.
James Franklin won all those games at Penn State, and the number one thing people still say is, man, he won 9 games at Vandy?
Yeah.
Do you
build the statue?
So, yeah.
Which now they would have to tear down the statue and erect one of Clark Lee, because the coach who brought Diego Pavia here, and Diego Pavia potentially winning a Heisman. Don't even have really even a good inkling as to who's going to come out. Like last year, if you made me put money down on who was going to win the Heisman, I was going to say it was going to be Travis Hunter. That one we clocked, I think, from a mile away. Pretty good. But sitting here this year, it's really between Mendoza and Pavia, and I don't know who's going to get the edge. And if you look at some of the numbers, too, it's not just that Diego Pavia completed 71% of his passes, threw for over 3,000 yards, 27 touchdown passes, only 8 interceptions. And then but he also ran for 826 yards and ran for 9 touchdowns. So he accounted for, 36 touchdowns on the season? And while Mendoza, from the passing number perspective, does kind of have him beat, does not have him beat in yards. Pavia threw for more yards, better completion percentage, but Fernando did, though, for 33 touchdowns this season. And obviously rushing is not his forte, barely eclipsed 200 yards when it comes to rushing. The numbers would indicate that Pavia is probably your winner. But there is something to be said about being a quarterback in Indiana to go undefeated, win a Big Ten title, beating the reigning national champion in the process, and doing something, again, the school hasn't done since the conclusion of World War II. It's pretty significant. So really, with both of these guys, I essentially have it as a coin flip. If you're making me bet on which one I think is going to win this thing, I think in terms of Heisman moments and things that stick out in the psyche of your average Heisman voter, I think Mendoza probably wins by a hair.
I know the Heisman is supposed to be awarded this year. But is the Heisman also sometimes awarded as a career achievement award? Is there something involved in that?
Like Leonardo DiCaprio winning an Oscar for The Revenant?
Yes.
Good film, not even close to his best work.
Yes.
And probably wasn't even the best work of anybody that season.
Yes.
That year in film.
Is there something involved with that? Just for the idea that if you look over the 2-year trajectory of the story that we've been told, that he's told, not we've been told, it's not a narrative, it's happened, with Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt, that's pretty difficult to overcome what he has created in that place in this time. it's pretty magical when you think about what college athletics is. And again, I think it's an awesome story because for all of the conversation about what the transfer portal is and how much we don't like the transfer portal, this dude could have been stuck playing junior college football forever.
Yeah.
He goes to New Mexico, proves himself there, does everything he needs to do, gets to the next level, proves himself again at the highest of levels because he now has the mobility to play at these levels. And I don't think anybody's saying Diego Pavia is going to be a NFL guy or whatever the case is. So this is it, unless he gets another year eligibility.
Surely.
This is it.
It can't happen again.
This to me is a quintessential college football story that is really awesome story as you look at it.
And the element to Diego Pavia, like Mendoza maybe has the more nationally relevant highs this season. You think about the touchdown pass against Penn State where Omar Cooper makes this insane catch in the back of the end zone, but also an insane throw while under serious duress. Engineering that drive, because even before the catch, you had to have the drive to get to that point of the field where he made a couple of incredible throws. Picking apart Oregon's defense on the road, which is one of the most impressive wins anybody's had in college football this season. He went to Oregon and demolished that defense. Diego Pavia has this whole storyline of before the season he's calling this, right? What's the game you're looking forward to most? Circle on your calendar. Game 3. And what does he do? They come here and they win 31-7. He talks trash about Tennessee, saying, this is our state, right? If I'm the quarterback here, this is going to be our state. And guess what they do? They go to Neyland Stadium and obliterate them in the second half. And, yeah, had a couple of losses, including, a beatdown at Alabama, and where Alabama avenged last year's loss. And then the Texas game where they were getting beat down before they almost did the improbable. I mean, honestly, if that ball takes a different bounce on an onside kick, they have the ball with a chance to take the lead and win late in the game despite being down 3 touchdowns. But the element of kind of calling your shot right there and being the polarizing figure in college football that he is, I think adds to that mystique a little bit. And I think the Heisman is part mystique, part stats, part analysis, part impact on your team, part storyline. Like all of that kind of is jumbled up together when it comes to handing out this award. And I think that's what makes this really close.
That's the big part. You said that the Heisman is the idea of mystique. It's not just a statistical award. Though it is, you have to have the numbers. There has to be some sort of conversation around you, whether it's the Heisman moment or whether it's you doing something different that your team has never done. Your team's an absolute winner. Tim Tebow, you've guaranteed that you're going to be back there. Whatever the case is, there has to be something else that we can, because this is all stories. This is all about the story that can tell you. And as we talk more through this, it feels like that's the story that I want to be the Heisman. Yeah,
that's kind of where I'm leaning with it too. Is if I was a voter and I had to submit a ballot, Pavia number 1, probably followed closely by Mendoza at 2, and I think Mendoza's a better quarterback. But Mendoza also has like a lot of the leadership qualities. Like that one, I've been kind of waffling back and forth on in the last 48, 72 hours. Thinking about if I had to vote, which way would I give it to? And that's really difficult. That is incredibly difficult just because of what these guys have done at places where nobody has done it. These guys are going to go down as the best quarterbacks or players in the history of their programs.
Mm-hmm.
And to bring them to these heights, Vanderbilt did make the college football playoff, but again, 10-2. They've never done anything like that. Looking at numbers and then taking everything into account, I think my final answer would be Pavia. If you held a gun to my head and said, Elijah, submit a ballot right now, I'd go Pavia 1, Mendoza 2. But I'd also put right next to it, be like, I thought really hard about it. I'm sorry.
I think I would do the same thing. If I'm looking at those two, I think I would do the same. And then maybe there's some people around the nation would say, oh, that's the SEC bias. But again, we've seen this story build over time. And to take Vanderbilt from a place where to a place where it's never been is extremely impressive. And you don't know that they're setting themselves up for a future based on Diego Pavia.
Mm-hmm.
Period. And every success that they've had is about that dude. The offense is based around him. The whole identity is based around that guy. He's the college football player of the year, in my opinion.
And you want to know one of the reasons why I'd also maybe lean Diego Pavia too. And now I don't even know if this even goes into the psyche or the rationale of the people that are voting. but I'm a big fan of not just being really good at what you do, but being influential. What did Vanderbilt just do in this National Signing Day? They flipped the number one player in the country from Georgia to stay home and play at Vanderbilt. There have been a lot of really great football players play their high school ball in Nashville. Very rarely do any of them ever even think about staying at home and playing for Vanderbilt. Jared Curtis, who was committed to Georgia for a while, ultimately flipped and is going to be the future at that position for Vanderbilt. And that doesn't happen without Diego Pavia.
Absolutely not. And they beat Bama when it wasn't supposed to happen. Remember that whole conversation? I know it wasn't this year, but that was when everybody was like, what's happening here? What's going on there? Right? He gives a legendary postgame. Hey, Fernando's not the only one that can give a legendary postgame. Diego gave a legendary one, too. You know, we just beat Bama with effing turds. That was awesome.
Fernando Mendoza has the FCC filter. Diego Pavia does not, right? If you like explicit versions of albums, you're going to like Diego Pavia. If you like it cleaned up a little bit, you're going to be more Fernando Mendoza.
That being said, Elijah, you made a claim, and I want to test it now on air live.
Oh, yes.
Heisman Trophy winners. You said you can name all the way back to who?
1993. Oh, yeah. Oh, now this is my wheelhouse.
Unplanned.
Okay.
On the spot.
We'll go from 93.
I'm looking at a list.
Okay.
All right. I'm just going to give you a check every time you're right.
Okay, it was 93 Charlie Ward.
92 is Charlie Ward.
Oh, okay. Well, 93 is a blind spot for me then. 94 Rashawn Salam. 95 Eddie George.
Correct.
96 Danny Warfel.
Ding.
97 Charles Woodson.
Ding.
98 Ricky Williams.
Yes.
99 Ron Dane.
Yes.
2000 Chris Wenke.
Yes.
2001 Eric Crouch.
Yes.
2002 Carson Palmer.
Correct.
2003 Jason White.
Okay.
Sham. Still counts, though. 2004, Matt Leinart.
Oh, man, you're heating up.
2005, Reggie Bush.
Yes.
2006, Troy Smith.
Yes.
2007, Tim Tebow.
Correct.
2008, Sam Bradford.
Ding.
2009, Mark Ingram.
Ding.
2010, Cam Newton.
Yes.
2011, Robert Griffin III.
Yes.
2012, Johnny Manziel.
Yes.
2013. Oh, man.
He's our guy. We love him.
Oh, 2013. Why am I drawing such a blank?
I'm strong, you strong, we strong.
Oh, Jameis Winston. That's right, because 2014, the January, they won the title. 2014, Marcus Mariota. 2015, Derrick Henry. 2016, Lamar Jackson.
Yes.
2017, Baker Mayfield.
Yes.
2018, Kyler Murray. 2019, Joe Burrow. 2020, Devontae Smith. 2021, Bryce Young. 2022, Caleb Williams. 23, Jaden Daniels. 24, Travis Hunter.
If you're watching on live stream, you see that it was unprompted. If you're listening, that he had no prompts. I didn't even tell him I was going to do it. He told me he did it yesterday. Had to put him on there to the test. Elijah, you passed with flying colors. You, sir, are an absolute Heisman nerd.
Yes. 93 is going to keep me up at night, though. For some reason, I was thinking Charlie Ward was 93.
There might be a little discrepancy on my list, so you might actually be right on that one. Let me check on that.
Ooh. Fact check, 1993 Heisman winner. Now, I need to go back and remember, like,
I think it is, actually. It's 92 is Toretto, and 93 might be Charlie Ward.
And then 91. Okay, was Andre Desmond Howard, yeah. And then Andre Ware was either 89 or 90.
89.
89.
Preston here for our friends at Cato's Power Equipment. Cato's Power Equipment has been family-owned and serving the Midlands since 1983. That's over 40 years. And third-generation owner Ben Cato provides top-notch service, great deals, and the mom-and-pop values that you love. Ben is determined to raise the standards of sales, service, and retail. At Cato's, they're proud to offer a wide selection of new and pre-owned mowers, tractors, and more. So if you're ready to invest in something new, the friendly team is there to make the process easy, help you choose the right equipment, find financing options, and keep your gear running strong with expert service and parts. Whether you're a weekend warrior or a seasoned landscaping pro, Cato's has got you covered. The huge selection of new and pre-owned mowers, powerful tractors, and all the gear you need. So swing by Cato's Power Equipment today or call them at 803-254-3711. That's Cato's Power Equipment at 803-254-3711.
Couple of problems this morning. We got 12th Street just north of Old Wire Road. Also a wreck at Mount Elon Church Road near Harmon Road. It's going to be at Leesburg Road, so look out for that. Slow down there. Your weather outlook now, that's crazy. We've got 60 and 6 for a high today and 65 for a high tomorrow, so very nice. But then the cold moves in. Sunday evening, dropping lows to 19 degrees overnight Sunday, and for Monday morning, Tuesday morning, high of 39 and a low of 22. Going to be very cold, but then it's going to warm up again when we get all the way up to 67 degrees for a high on Thursday.
Schedule. It's out. I love how they do this so early, and they try to make it a televised event. But I'm telling you right now, I'm a college football sicko, but I will never sit and watch a televised schedule reveal. I'll find it when I find it, right? And I found it last night as it was released. So now it's time for us to share and give our thoughts on what the slate is for South Carolina in 2026 for this morning's morning meeting.
Good morning. Good morning. Repeat after me. Today will be an awesome day.
Yeah, well, the SEC East is back.
Good morning, great today. Today will be an awesome day. Good morning, great today. Today will be an awesome day.
Oh, yes, it will, because we have traditional rivalries back in different spots. So I'm just going to run down the order real quick, and then we can give our takeaways. Season opener, September 5th at home against Kent State. The next week, September 12th against Towson. I really want to give a fighting blank nickname for Towson, but I can't. There's nothing. Kent State, the Fighting Josh Cribbs. We have them in the first week, and then Towson after that. Then we get to conference play. September 19th, your home opener in the SEC, Mississippi State.
Okay.
September 26th, on the road. Your first road game of the year being September 26th. Not terrible, but it's at Alabama. October 3rd, another home game against Kentucky. Back-to-back seasons with home games against Kentucky. October 10th, in the Swamp, on the road, playing Florida for the first time since 2022. A bye week on October 17th. October 24th, a home game against Tennessee. Welcoming them back to Williams-Brice for the first time since the 63-point whipping in 2022. On Halloween, you'll be playing in Norman against the Oklahoma Sooners. November 7th, you play Texas A&M at home. November 14th, reviving an old SEC friendship, going to Fayetteville to play Arkansas. I think we'll be hearing from our friend Ty Richardson then, too. November 21st, the final home game of the year against Georgia. And then you're at Clemson on November 28th.
Don't love that.
The look on Preston's face would indicate that he is not a fan of ending the season. Georgia, Clemson. This year, it was Coastal Carolina, Clemson. The year before that, it was Wofford, Clemson. And now we're getting back to two bangers back-to-back to end your season.
Yeah, I mean, old school folks listening, we used to have the traditional Orange Crush, and we used to be Tennessee, Florida, Clemson. That used to be sort of the end of the schedule. That wasn't very fun. This is not that, but depending on what Arkansas has going on, and we'll talk to maybe Ty closer to that time and feel like get a pulse on that. But I don't like seeing Georgia that late in the season.
No.
I would prefer not to.
Because, I don't need to know what Georgia's losing or retaining. They're Georgia.
Yes.
And they could be reigning national champions.
Some have picked them.
I think once we finally get to our brackets, I think I might be picking them. I'm kind of stuck on a few of those. I need to submit my picks on ESPN before my bowl thing closes. But that's my biggest takeaway is, I'm glad we have the SEC East revival. We're just missing Vanderbilt, right? I would be cool with swapping Vanderbilt for Oklahoma or A&M. But you get Kentucky, you get Florida on the road, Tennessee at home, Georgia at home. That part is very pleasing to my old SEC East loving nostalgic soul.
And they're still making this Texas A&M thing happen, huh? Still doing it. You're gonna like this. It's gonna happen.
Here comes the plane. Here's your spoon full of Gerber. Here comes the plane. And I'm sitting here like, nope, don't want it. I don't want those peas. No, get it out of my face.
You're gonna like this. You're gonna take this.
They are going to force feed us, South Carolina and Texas A&M, for at least one more year. It's not a permanent opponent anymore, but for at least one more year. I'm thrilled to see Arkansas back on the schedule. But Georgia being that late, it's not just, to me, like that the Georgia Clemson back-to-back to end the year is a secondary storyline for me. I miss that being the SEC opener. Even, when I wasn't living here, South Carolina and Georgia was always like the first big nationally televised SEC game, right? That one being like the first SEC on SEC matchup on CBS was fun.
Yeah, and we would always get a a gauge into what the season was going to be by that game.
That was your ultimate barometer.
That was our barometer of the game. We would see that, okay, we're here for this year, or we need some work this year, or we're going to be really good this year based on that game. And for a long time, for a lot of the 2000s, it was a pretty strong series. Obviously, Georgia led this series, but I mean, those games were, for the most part, very competitive and fun games. So yeah, it was a game that I loved early in the season. Don't love it late. Also, with Georgia's physical style later in the year, it's not something that you want to look forward to. You know, having to play the fullbacks of Mike Bobo's fullbacks and tight ends and all those types of things.
Right.
Assortment of screens that you have to run up against. So I don't know, but other than that, I mean, there's plenty of time to look at the schedule. What's your overall impression?
My overall impression is we already know going into this 2026 season that this will be the most important September for Shane Beamer. And we said it'd be really important this year because the hard part of your schedule comes in October and November. And that's going to be that way for a lot of teams because you play some non-conference opponents, and a lot of them aren't necessarily daunting at the beginning of the year. But with Kent State, Towson, and Mississippi State, you must be 3-0 going into Alabama. You must. And then having that game against Kentucky, which I think you're just a better program right now. Now, depending what Will Stein does in the transfer portal and how good he's got them year one, is going to make that October 3rd game interesting. But I think that, and along with the fact that you do play a couple of first-year coaches back-to-back, too. We don't know what Florida's going to be, right? With John Summerall taking the reins as the head coach, what's their roster going to look like? That's a big mystery. Kentucky's going to be a big mystery because of that, but I still think that's a game that, as a program, you're ahead of, and it's going to take a while, I guess, for the Kentucky thing to work. I don't find that one to be an overnight type of success story. Florida can be, just because of resources and fan support. That's one that can be. But I think you do have a murderer's row starting from October 24th to November 28th. Because depending on what Tennessee has at quarterback, we know what that offense is. And if they secure Jim Knowles as DC, then I think that defense can come along pretty quickly. Oklahoma's in the college football playoff. A&M's in the college football playoff. Who knows what Arkansas is going to be under Ryan Silverfield? I'm not expecting much. But then Georgia and Clemson. And if Arkansas is your easiest game from October 24th to November 28th, it's a pretty tough slate.
Yeah, that is very difficult late, but they're scheduled for success early.
Yes, you have to take advantage of that
and
early.
You must take advantage of it early. September 5th against Kent State lines up to be a huge game with the unveiling of the new offense, potential for a lot of fireworks, a lot of really cool things that happen, and people can get in good vibes coming out of the stadium of Williams-Brice with that game. So I know people wanted to play Miami, but I don't know if you really did.
I did.
You might.
I did. I'm a sicko.
You might be, and y'all might be. Kendall Browse loves seeing Kent State on this schedule,
and he even loves more that Julian Edelman ain't walking through that door.
Right.
He's not. But you know what is walking through this door? Scandals. Because Sharon Moore has introduced the newest big-time college football scandals. That makes us want to take a trip down memory lane. We're going to give you our wildest college football scandals coming up next.
Pressing here for our friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. If the glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. It's a cracked windshield, that's no problem. They'll come out to your location and they'll replace it for you, usually for free. And they'll work directly with the insurance to take away the headache. That's right. They'll come out to wherever you are. School, home, work, it does not matter. Absolute Glass will come out to you and take care of the job for you. If you're at home, you're looking to increase the value of your home, Absolute Glass can do that too. They'll take care of that for you also. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
All right, got a wreck at 12th Street, just north of Old Wire Road, Gardner's Terrace at 321. That's right in that split there. It is over on the inbound side. Mount Elon Church Road near Harmon Road, an accident there near Leesburg. Platte Springs Road at McLee and Kaiser Road, a wreck there as well. Your weather outlook, well, some craziness in store for you. Very nice weekend, though. Today and tomorrow, highs in the 60s. Nice, but then Sunday night, the Arctic blast moves in. It's going to drop temperatures down to 19 degrees for your Monday morning, 22 for your Tuesday morning, but then warming up through the week, up to 67 on Thursday. This is Captain Dave.
Yeah, it's Football Friday, and we're about to talk about some of our wildest college football scandals in recent memory to see how the Sharon Moore thing really stacks up. It's not your prisoners of the moment here. But before we do that, there's basketball being played this weekend, especially tomorrow over at CLA. 7 o'clock tip, South Carolina takes on the Citadel, and we have a pair of family 4-pack of tickets to give away. Be the first two callers, 803-404-6100. And if you hear Captain David Ayer's voice, you're a winner. And you can bring 3 friends, or you can bring the family. We have 2 family 4-packs of tickets to go see the Gamecocks take on the Citadel tomorrow night at Colonial Life Arena. So, Preston Thorne, the Sharon Moore thing is wild. That's one of those, a day I'm going to remember for a while. Waking up, seeing, on Twitter after my midday nap that Sharon Moore was relieved of his duties. And then what all transpired after that, right? Covered it for a while yesterday. But where does this stack up with other wild college football scandals? And I think at the top, I have to start with one with the very same school recently. Connor Stallions is up there.
Because there's a couple things that have to happen in these scandals. It has to be outrageous. It has to be unbelievable. And I think Connor Stallions is at the top, is one of the ones at the top because in reality, nobody got hurt.
No.
It's not criminal. And that's what makes it the perfect college football scandal. Because it's not really, nothing happened.
It's elaborate, though. My favorite part is how elaborate it was.
And that's another part which is great about it. It's elaborate. So this, to me, I think that is probably the quintessential college football scandal because it's serious enough, but not really serious. Like, the thing about Sharon Moore was it was funny until it wasn't. It was like, oh, no. I don't want to make fun of this anymore. I still will, but
it's not going to stop me. But
it's like this got into a place where I have to take some serious consideration here.
It got dark.
Yeah, I didn't want that. But Connor Stallions just got dumber as it went along. Like, what do you mean he sells vacuum cleaners on Amazon? What?
What do you mean he's taking the lessons he learned from being in the Navy and is applying them to espionage at a college football level? That's totally unnecessary, by the way. Like, you didn't have to do all of that. Like, I don't think you could gain all of that type of advantage.
He was on the sideline wearing the opposition team's gear in the MAC conference scouting. What?
Brother, you don't got to do all that. Right? Like, it was elaborate. It was totally unnecessary. And it was so extra and petty, especially when it came to the Ohio State stuff, that goes down as my favorite college football scandal. Number 2, Manti Te'o getting catfished.
A phenomenal situation. Because it leads to a whole MTV genre of shows, which was awesome.
Yes. Still a great show.
You still going up? It's still going?
I think they do different variations of it.
It never fails. And whenever I watch it, I'm like, oh, this is good.
Every time I get hooked every single time.
put a whole generation of people onto things that the youngins knew were happening. Mm-hmm. So it introduced a whole term into the zeitgeist where people are saying this. Great story.
And it's one of those, always remember where I was when I found this out.
This is a banger of a list so far.
Because the whole Manti Te'o was playing despite, his grandmother dying and his girlfriend dying in the same week. It got America's attention. People started cheering for this guy. And then before the national championship game, the girlfriend thing wasn't completely real at all. Totally catfished. Made up.
And Alabama beat them by 50 points, even more so, which was even cooler.
That game was not even remotely close. It got into, weird Brent Musburger drooling over A.J. McCarron's girlfriend levels of boredom in that game.
Another great college football moment. Continue. This list is going hard so far.
I'm going to say number 3, I'm going to put at Alabama fan Harvey Updike admitting to poisoning the tree on Toomer's Corner live on the Paul Feinbaum Show. That is the ultimate, Southern sports talk radio moment where a man admitted to a serious crime live on air because he hated Auburn and Cam Newton so much.
I poisoned those trees. What?
What? Beg your pardon? Can you say it again?
I poisoned trees. To this day, you talk about inside jokes. It's one of the things my wife and I say to each other all the time. I poison those trees. Because it's just so phenomenal.
It is. It's funny, Paul Feinbaum's face, during all that, wait, you what? You can even hear it in his voice. It's wait, what? What are you getting at? I poisoned those trees. A guy commits this crime, but it's not enough just to commit the crime to kill that tree in joy of Auburn fans. He has to publicly admit to it and put his name on it.
Phenomenal.
He probably could have gotten away with it if he never went on the bleeping Paul Feinbaum
Why do
show.
it? Why do it?
Unless you want to go down as an Alabama martyr, right? And I think that's what he really wanted. Number 4, Hugh Freeze. Because there's nothing quite like your arch rival, a fan. Let's be more specific. A photographer for the fan site of the arch rival exposing you calling escort services from your university-issued cell phone by way of a simple FOIA request.
By accident. You almost would have got away with it if it wasn't for those pesky photographers.
From a Mississippi State fan site. Stephen Godfrey made a documentary series about it on YouTube that got to the bottom out of the petty internet stuff between Mississippi State and Ole Miss. This guy's I was I'll just look in the most obvious places. I want to find something on this guy, and sure enough, phone records. Yeah. What's this number right here? Oh, that's an escort service. University issued cell phone.
Can't do it.
There's a reason that when Lane Kiffin got to Oxford, one of the first things a fan said to him off the plane was get a burner phone. Because they're very concerned about that type of stuff. Number 5, WikiLeaks. This one is so fun because for those who don't remember WikiLeaks and that scandal, Wake Forest had a member of the broadcast crew, the radio broadcast crew, who really wanted a job on Dave Clawson's staff when Dave Clawson became the head coach at Wake Forest. Dave Clawson did not retain him on the staff, and he took it personally. Well, anybody who has been in radio in terms of teams that are play-by-play broadcasters for the team, they have some real inside information about the team. Scheme, injury availability. Well, what this guy was doing as a member of the broadcast staff was giving that inside information to their opponents. This is Tommy Elrod, who is the radio analyst, former Demon Deacons quarterback. Was so mad about being snubbed for that job that he said, I'll show you. I want to try to sabotage the entire operation. And was giving inside information about scheme, injuries, all this type of stuff to their opponents.
Not a national scandal. That scandal has come. That scandal circles around us every now and then. When you put up 63 points against Tennessee, what's the first thing people say?
Conor Stallions.
WikiLeaks.
WikiLeaks.
There's conversations around it.
When George's fingers are pointing. And before we get here, I want to get to the most underrated one. Former Georgia Tech coach George O'Leary lying on his resume about nothing football related, but making something up on his resume to keep him from getting his dream job at Notre Dame.
Another great one.
All-timer. An all-timer. Like, there's something like to lie on your resume, but to blatantly do it like that.
Totally made it up.
Just completely made it up.
And again, would have got away with it.
Would have gotten away with it. Well, if you're on Spotify, like me, this is not scandalous, but you get your Wrapped, right? What you listen to throughout the year. Well, we decided to make a Gamecock football-themed Spotify Wrapped for 2025. We'll tell you what songs made our list coming up next. So this year, one of my favorite parts of every year is when Spotify tells me what I've listened to. Now, the Spotify one for me is a little funny because I do have Apple Music, and I really only joined Spotify for their playlist, and I wasn't going to pay for it. I do think they have better playlists, and they do have like the whole day list thing that curates like your music taste and gives you a different playlist each day. I love that feature. But it tells you what you've listened to, who your most featured artist is, and they do a whole playlist of the songs that you listen to the most that year. Now, I figured when I was going through mine, I was like, you know what? We could make a segment out of this. The South Carolina Football Gamecocks 2025 Spotify Wrapped list. What songs best filled or best described the season? And I've got an entire list here. Preston Thornton, you want to start us off with one?
So what immediately came to my mind is this song by the singer named Khalees, not My Milkshake. Which is a banger, but not that one. But she also had her first song, which was I Hate You So Much Right Now. That was the name of the song. That's how the chorus went.
All caps.
And the name of the song was I Hate You So Much Right Now. And I related to that because the song, obviously, like any good love song, where she's screaming about how much she hates the person, but she doesn't really hate the person.
She's coming right back.
Exactly. And so as much as I hated this team, as much as they made me frustrated throughout the year, that Khalees song, I Hate You So Much Right Now, was apropos for the season.
Remember when Shane Beamer told us we can't be sad boys around here? Mm-hmm. That immediately made me think of the song Nobody Likes Sad Songs by Ronnie Millsap. You know, the ones about goodbyes, the ones about broken hearts and tears in your eyes. Nobody likes sad songs.
To build on that, we throw a little Willie Nelson in there. Sad songs and waltzes ain't selling this year. You can go to Willie Nelson version. You can go to Cake version.
Cake version's really good too.
Whichever one you want to do, but sad songs and waltzes ain't selling this year. Nobody wants to hear about that. Nobody wants to hear about how, you tried to block it or you should execute it or, a lot of things are happening. We don't care. We just want to see points because sad songs and waltzes ain't selling this year.
That reminds me of another one. I tried so hard. Akon. Tried so hard. Can't escape misery. But another one, now this a couple times this year. Remember we talked about bad 2-minute drill time management? Mm-hmm. That happened in the Ole Miss game. It happened in the Texas A&M game. Does anybody really know what time it is? By Chicago plays in my head every single time. At this point, does anybody really care?
That's a good one. We could riff on that with Missy Elliott and maybe not, I don't want no 1 minute man. I don't want no 2 minute man because we cannot figure out what's happening on this 2 minute drill.
Too many times this year. TOO many times. The 2 minute drill is not kind to this offense this season.
Was not at all.
It wasn't. And also, at a certain point when you're in a losing streak like South Carolina was, and you get to the Texas A&M game and you're up 30-3 at halftime and you end up losing the game and now you're out of bowl, like no chance of bowl eligibility. It reminded me of a Smith song. Please, please, please let me get what I want this time. Please. Like, how many times do we get so close in these games and we get the same result? I need to mix it up a little bit, please.
And the Smiths inherently automatically fit in the Sad Boy playlist, right?
Like Morrissey's the ultimate
Sad Boy list.
Like King Sad Boy. I guess if we're having a coronation here of who the King Sad Boy is, predating any type of Midwestern emo, yeah, that's Morrissey takes that spot.
For sure. What else you got?
All right. Almost by Bowling for Soup.
Nice. Now,
it has been clarified. Bowling for Soup is bowling to obtain soup, not bowling on behalf of soup. Mm-hmm. Interesting distinction. Another, I do like to fancy myself as a fan of some 90s Britpop. Get Me Away From Here, I'm Dying by Belle and Sebastian is how it felt in the second half of a lot of games. If you've never listened to that song, highly suggest giving it a listen because that's how the second half felt for a lot of games.
I would like to present Run by Ghostface Killer.
Ooh.
Because we cannot run.
We cannot.
And the whole theme of the song is run. And we could not run. We did not run the ball very well. We did not run the ball very far. We did not run the ball very good. So just maybe be run parentheses ning game Running.
Running. Yeah. The little parentheses in there just to kind of fill out the title.
Yeah.
Another one, I mean, because in the middle of the season, you had a breakup after a flight home from Baton Rouge with Lonnie Teasley. You had a breakup with Mike Shula after a loss against Ole Miss. I think a very appropriate breakup song is "It's Over" by Roy Orbison. You had to break out the breakup songs a couple of times this season. Also, Roy Orbison, Hall of Fame glasses.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Like Hall of Fame cut, Hall of Fame glasses.
I know the song, but I don't know who sings it. But off the top of my head, maybe I'm the problem.
Oh, that's a good one. Taylor Swift did something like that too. I'm the problem. It's me. We could have done that a lot in that locker room.
It's me. Hi.
Maybe Mike Shula sang that. I don't know. Hour number 3 coming up next. We'll reset on talking about the offensive hires next.
Augusta Road at Oak Drive, St. David's Church Road. Also Pilgrim Church Road near Old Cherokee, and Platte Springs Road at Kaiser and McLean. And then your weather outlook, Friday and Saturday, warmer weather with highs up in the low to mid 60s. Very nice. But then the Arctic blast comes moving in Sunday night and brings temperatures way down into the teens for Monday morning and 22 for Tuesday morning. Going to be terrible. But then it's going to warm up a little bit and get warmer and warmer and warmer. So by Thursday, 67 for a high. I don't know. Mother Nature drinking. I'm not sure what's going on. This is Captain Dave in the Traffic Center.
The early game, 3rd and long hour, starts right now. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. He's Captain David Dare behind the glass, our man Randy Young in the video production studio. And we have gotten some great submissions.
As I knew we would.
On the Firehouse Subs text line for your submissions to the South Carolina Gamecocks Spotify Wrapped playlist. I might have to compile all these and actually put them on a Spotify list and tweet them out. Yeah, yep. That way we can have an actual soundtrack for the year. Make it a yearly thing. I think that'd be a lot of fun. But Harry on the Firehouse Subs text line says, clearly, Sticks had no idea what they were talking about. Too much time on my hands? Evidently, 2 minutes was not enough. Which reminds me of my favorite Vince Lombardi quote is that the Green Bay Packers never lost a game. They just ran out of time.
Never just ran out of time, man. I like it.
That was a classic. Mark says, everybody hurts. REM.
What was the most everybody hurts game of the year?
It's got to be A&M. Yeah, it's got to be the A&M one. Sometimes everybody hurts. Especially around here. That was my remix of it, if you like that. Sad But True by Metallica.
Good one. Solid one. Absolutely.
Chase, I think, sums it up pretty well. Numb by Linkin Park. Because after a while, do you feel anything? Can you kill what's already dead? I don't know. I think around here we learned that. The Gamecock-loving souls of some are already dead. You cannot re-kill it, right? Mm-hmm. Another good one. Nameless Texter says, Break Stuff by Limp Bizkit. Always seem to want to break stuff after watching them.
Solid one.
Oh, man. That one is I'm trying to think of the best way to describe that song. That was like early high school Elijah Campbell rage bait song.
I like it.
That definitely like hit pretty good at that one. Stu says, all I want for Christmas is my 2 front teeth because we got them knocked out.
Very good.
We got a submission. Dave Matthews, Typical Situation.
I don't know that one, but I'm going to go back. But yes, there were several typical situations. Somehow you could say, oh, yep, that's us. Dave
Matthews is one of those artists, too. Like, I know a couple. I have a couple songs of his that are my favorites. But I can just, like, listen to most of them and not, like, even recognize song title. Like, wouldn't register song title. But I do like listening to it, especially on road trips. Mm-hmm. I can do a DMB marathon on a road trip.
Yeah, I think Dave Matthews Band, obviously highly talented, maybe get unfair criticism because they're so big and because they have a very particular fan base that people like to sort of make fun of.
They do, yes.
But they make really solid music, though.
Because that's the thing. I've never seen them live, but I've heard the live shows are great. And the people that I know, just like in my life, you have either never been to a Dave Matthews Band concert or you've been to 30 of them. No in between. There is no, yeah, I went to a Dave Matthews Band concert once. It's, yeah, oh, I remember that was my 15th show. I saw them in Houston, and then they go on and on and on about it. Like,
and they tell you about it.
Yeah, there's no casual DMB fans here. Walt says, in reference to the LSU game specifically, the Smiths, This Night Has Opened My Eyes.
You had me with the Smiths. I was like, okay, here we go.
Honestly, you could pick any Smith song. I chose Please, Please, Please Let Me Get What I Want this time as my Smith song.
Were your eyes open on the first snap of the game?
Whoa, buddy. I remember sitting in that press box when that happened, and I like chuckled a little bit. I was like, this is that kind of season, isn't it? Like, this is kind of where this team is going.
This night has opened. It's a great selection.
And for Walt's point two, in terms of the LSU game being the one specifically that opened his eyes, I'm there. Because we asked that question a couple weeks ago. Like, when did you realize things were really going south? And I always give a team a month and some change, because I've seen plenty of teams, whether it be teams that I've covered or just watching the sport, my entire life, that do end up making a turn, right? Now, does it turn you into what we now know as a playoff team or a team that reaches the ultimate goal you set at the beginning of the year? No, but I've seen teams turn a corner, a light bulb go off, and you're able to figure it out in the last half of a season to salvage, a season, or at least make it a good one. That LSU game for me was one where I was like, oh, they don't have it this year. Mm-hmm. And I don't think they're going to. Mostly because of the penalties. That first play, it was a lot of the self-inflicted stuff. I thought, and the way LSU basically lived in your backfield, I was like, I don't know if you recover from
if we was doing a bottom five moments, I think 2 of mine for the season might be there in that first play and then that 4th and 3. Those are 2 of my worst moments of the year.
Throwing it right at Mansur Lane. Yeah. When it's like, all right, now we have an execution problem and a decision-making problem here. Yeah.
Maybe that night did open my eyes.
Because now I'm looking at NFL mock drafts, and Mansur Lane is no further out than top 15 in this draft, and I'm like, that's who they decided to throw at. That's who they decided to try at that point of the game. Another suggestion here, nameless texter on the Firehouse Subtext line says, Up in Here by DMX. Because a lot of us were losing our mind. Up in here. Up in here.
Whew, yeah, that's a good one.
Another nameless texter says, Prince, Delirious.
Yep. These are all great. I hear him as he's saying it, and you're right.
And then Jennifer says, I'll be home for Christmas, and then ... because not going to a bowl. Is it bad that I used that line on my mom? I was like, yeah, Mom, I'll be home for Christmas for a little bit longer. I don't have a bowl game to prepare for. And then she said, Loser by Beck.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Oh, man. And here's another. Albert, maybe with the most appropriate one. Also, this is one of my favorite songs ever. If I have like a top 20 favorite songs list, one day I've always wanted to compile it, but I've never been able to sit down and put enough thought into it to make this list. But I can almost guarantee you this song is making that list. A Long December by Counting Crows. Albert says even the lyrics match Carolina football.
I think there's a Counting Crows documentary that just came out.
No way.
Think so.
Big Counting Crows guy.
Think so.
Big fan.
I might be.
That song specifically, though, one of my all-time favorites. Also a fantastic album right there. And one of the reasons why that song is appropriate, because the lyrics are A Long December, and there's reason to believe maybe this year will be better than the last. One thing that can give Carolina fans hope that maybe this year will be better than the last is that you have stocked up with a new offensive coaching staff. And that's what I wanted to get to here too, is because today is, the official introduction of Kendall Briles as the offensive coordinator, of Randy Clements as the offensive line coach that he's bringing from TCU, and Stan Drayton as the running backs coach, who they're bringing in from Penn State, who has a really good history as an ace recruiter and coaching really good running backs. You look no further than Bijan Robinson being kind of that shining example of a guy, and Ezekiel Elliott as highly touted guys he was able to not only recruit but develop into players that helped their teams win football games. Right, I think that the combination of all of that is kind of introduced in those two examples. How much enthusiasm would this give Gamecock fans with the coaching hires that have been made here recently that maybe this year can't be better than the last?
I think it's going to be a palate cleanser at least. At minimum, it'll be a palate cleanser because, again, Kendall, from hearing him speak, he'll talk about what he wants to do, how he's excited this year. We could probably paint by numbers what he's going to say, but he's actually going to say something. We didn't get that. We got a promotion. We had the Citrus Bowl, and then we were just moving on to Cincinnati, right? And that was just the next thing that happened. So it will be actually kind of cool to hear from all of these coaches, hear them speak, get a chance to know their personalities. I imagine all of them will speak at the press conference today. They'll be introduced. Sure. Maybe at least we'll get a chance to see them. So it'll at least be a palate cleanser and a fresh start somewhere to move on from there.
Yeah, and I think that's reason for optimism. And we even brought that question up on our Twitter feed for our poll question of the day, where we just asked, do the additions of Kendall Briles as offensive coordinator, Stan Drayton at running backs coach, Randy Clements offensive line coach, make you feel more optimistic about next year, with the options being yes, no, or not sure yet? Over 240 votes, so a pretty solid sample size here. 77% say yes, they do feel more optimistic going into next year because of the coaching changes. Only 4.5% say no. 18% say not sure yet.
I think not sure yet. Maybe some of that leftover pessimism hanging around. You're very valid in that. I would have loved to speak to the people who said no, because
a small number, but
a small number.
People did say no.
Some people did say no, and I would wonder what that was rooted in, because my optimism is just based, and I'm not saying I'm optimistic to saying that we're going to be in a CFP conversation. The poll has said, are you optimistic about the next year?
Yeah, just about next year in general.
My answer is yes, because it cannot get worse.
No, especially like on offense, because that's the one thing we talked about was the thing that kept this team from even reaching a goal of going to a bowl game was that your offense was stuck in neutral so many times this season that it was unimaginative, that the offensive line couldn't pass protect enough. And so much this season was Lenora snap the ball and run for your life. And play calling, development on the offensive line. So many of those little things were issues that just kept you from even having a 7-5 and 8-4 season, which I still thoroughly believe this team could have done, right? I don't look at this team as like Arkansas. New Arkansas wasn't going to be any good. Sam Pittman was, unfortunately, that's my guy, dead man walking all season long. 2-10 for that team is just not a surprise. 4-8 is such a surprise to this team because of the talent that you have, and so many of those factors kept you from really fulfilling any of the potential that we talked about this team having at the beginning of the season. I think the shakeup alone is enough to maybe introduce some optimism, but you did bring in some coaches that have a track record of things like recruiting well and developing to be able to play towards a specific system.
Yeah, and that's enough reason for optimism. I think they've upgraded at each position.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the phrase maybe for the week, or the winning phrase for the week, is floor raisers. I definitely think we brought floor raisers in at each single spot that they've hired a new coach.
People raise the roof all the time, but no one says they're here to raise the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, the floor is not our son, but we will raise it here with these new hires. And when talking about how the offense can look just different too, I think an aesthetics change is going to help too. How much does an aesthetics change actually matter? Maybe not a lot, but when it comes to drumming up enthusiasm, the thing that you can point to with Kendall Browse's offense is that aesthetically they are a lot more pleasing. It is aesthetically pleasing to score 30-plus points a game, but also the way they do it. I think it is an exciting brand of football that spaces the field out and uses wide receiver splits to be able to lighten up a box and be able to have an advantageous running game. Now you're hoping it doesn't kind of reflect in the way it did at TCU, where they didn't necessarily run the ball with dominance the way that Kendall Browse's offenses did at Arkansas or the way they did at Florida Atlantic. But I think there is an aesthetics part of this where when his offense does hum, it looks really good too, and it's exciting. And I think after a 4-8 season, there is no understatement to the element of excitement that you need to be able to have to get butts in seats, to be able to get attention towards your team. I think that excitement level, while it's not the most important thing, and it's probably not even like one of the 5 most important things, actually is a tangible element that you needed when you're making these type of hires.
But you know what else? Who else is excited for? Not the fans, but the players.
Yeah.
Getting an offense in there that can score points, that has some tempo, that has some vision and direction, and we're spotting the ball and we're whipping it around and you see things. That's exciting for the players instead of maybe just running the same old slog. And he's like, all right, here we go again. Inside zone. I know that one. Right? You have maybe there's something, and then that in turn makes you work harder. That in turn makes you focus more. That in turn makes you execute better. There's a lot to be said for the general style of offense, because we have not had an offensive identity here in a long time, a decade at least.
Yeah, and that's something I think even just South Carolina fans crave, is having that offensive identity that you can scope out, right? Like we talked about how jealous we were this year of Georgia Tech having an identity of being a creative ground and pound game. That
Missouri, we knew Missouri was going to run the stretch. We knew that.
Yeah. And it's identifiable. And I think when you're cheering for a college football team, especially in a sport where it's such a styles make fights kind of deal, having something that you can hitch your wagon to stylistically is a net positive, even just like for the morale of not just your team, but a fan base that is the financial supporters of this team ultimately at the end of the day, especially in today's college football. Now, I can imagine Gamecock message boards pretty pleased with the hiring of Kendall Browse. What did message boards around the country react to? Some of the scandalous news we got in the sport this week. And we'll also continue giving your submissions for the Gamecock football Spotify Wrapped. All of that coming up next year in the early game.
All right, a couple of new accidents. We got one at 277 just before I-20 heading towards Charlotte. Carley Mill Road at Sunset Boulevard, Two Notch Road in Sparkberry, and Augusta Road near Brickyard Road. We got a high of 60 coming today and 65 for tomorrow, but Sunday Arctic Blast moves in Sunday night, and it'll drop lows down to 19 degrees for your Monday morning and 22 for your low on Tuesday morning. 39 is your high for Monday all day long, and then warming up all the way up to 67 degrees by Thursday. Interesting weather outlook. Scott and Dave in the traffic center.
Before we get to the mayhem of message boards, there are still some good submissions to the Firehouse Subs text line.
Bringing
for
it
Gamecock
as I knew you would.
Spotify Wrapped. You guys have been great. This is awesome. One nameless texter says, 2025 preseason, I was Biggie's Hypnotized.
Okay. Yes.
Also, in terms of songs, just like all-time great start to a song. There is nothing that is a better hook into a song.
It's a banger.
Than that one. One of my favorite videos of all time is at Biggie's funeral, where they're going down in New York carrying his casket. Somebody's got like a large boombox and they're playing that, and the place turns into like a little party for like a little bit.
It might be the best rapped song, just in terms of rapping. It's amazing.
Oh, it's incredible. Love Biggie.
Here comes my nerd alert. But anyway,
that's right. Yes, we will have to do a podcast special of Preston Thorne breaking down Biggie bars, right? Or the best one. In regards to the Shula offense, this is from another nameless texter. In regards to the Shula offense, changes by Tupac. Or that's from Thomas in Somerville.
Okay, all right.
He also says Thomas in Somerville, home of the Preston Thorne.
That's what's up.
The Fighting Preston Thorns in Somerville. Reg says, wake me up when September ends. Because after losing 31-7 to Vanderbilt and then losing to Missouri when you're up going into the fourth quarter, looking ahead at what that schedule was, I think you could reasonably look at September and be like, yeah, this is a sign this isn't going to go very well.
Continue.
Roland says, second half performances, You Be Illin' by Run DMC. Richard says, AC/DC's Highway to Hell. Nobody had a clue when season started. This is what fans would be headed to. And then dedicated to Mike Shula and Lonnie Teasley from Nameless Texture says, Tom Petty, don't come around here no more.
Like it. Hit the road, Jack.
Oh, that's a good one. When I was producing a radio show in Nashville, right, I would get really creative, like with a lot of like the bumper music. And anytime we were talking about a head coach getting fired in any sport, we came back from break with that song.
Another one bites the dust.
Another one bites the dust. Oh, all is really good. We did have Philip on the YouTube stream did say had a bad day, which I think is Daniel Powder.
Yeah, okay. I actually never knew who sang that song.
2006, one-hit wonder, definitely one-hit wonder. Mm-hmm. And I only remember that song that well because I was 11 years old when that song came out, and that was all over the radio.
The only problem with that one is which one of the bad days.
Right, because that one is isolated to one bad day. I don't think we can say that here, that the season was isolated to one bad day. Unfortunately, there were a few of them. When it comes to message board mayhem, obviously Michigan here is going to be dominant, but I think the funniest one that I was able to find, shout out message board geniuses for perusing these, this is from the Wolverine. And I want to file this under the bad idea file, right? Not just bad day, bad idea. And the subject line reads, can UM put Coach Moore up at a Motel 6 for a couple months to help ensure a smooth transition to new coach?
What?
followed by the post that says he needs the stability and we need his steadying influence as the new staff comes in. Sounds like a win-win to me.
No, it doesn't.
No. Let us interject here and say, no, that is more of a lose-lose.
There were several stops along the way where he forfeited that privilege.
And given the type of scandal that Sherrone Moore just had, I think the last place he needs to be is a Motel 6. I'm not going to suggest that one anytime soon. But there's some Michigan fans, though, on the message boards, maybe a little more hopeful, right? Like they're not as fixated on losing Sherrone Moore, but looking ahead to the future. And we do know one of the first names that even got brought up was Kalen DeBoer, because there was some rumor with Kalen DeBoer and Penn State, maybe if things go south at Alabama in terms of not making a CFP or, heaven forbid, having a bad showing against Georgia in the SEC championship game. That pressure cooker maybe hasn't been the greatest situation for Kalen DeBoer, despite, look, he won 9 and 10 games in back-to-back years. I think he's doing just fine. But on Michigan Insider, we're social media watching, because there's a screen grab of Michigan softball's Twitter page. And if you look hard enough, you'll see followed by Alexis DeBoer. And the subject of this reads, DeBoer's daughter followed Michigan softball Twitter account.
Followed or follows? Because I think
follows.
Oh, okay.
Right, followed is in now follows. So the subject
now
line,
follows.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Listen. I was out if she had been following
and unfollowed.
But if she just started following.
Now here's the thing. It doesn't, with the screen grab that you get, it doesn't say when Kalen DeBoer's daughter followed Michigan softball. But this person just noticed when you pulled up Michigan softball's Twitter page.
Just noticed randomly.
This is followed by Alexis DeBoer. But here's where things get really interesting too. All it has, when it has the follows, is just Alexis DeBoer. And you know well, if you go to any Twitter page, if there are multiple mutual followers, it'll say followed by so-and-so and all these others. Mm-hmm. I have a hard time believing a Michigan fan who follows Michigan athletics only has one mutual follower also following a Michigan athletic program.
Okay.
Meaning,
now we're deep in the woods
did you
here.
create an account just to see if anything like this happened and only followed a select few people?
We're deep in the woods here.
This is immediately where my brain went to. Like there's probably some extra links just to even find out that information right there based on that screenshot.
Okay, but Michigan is going to have to hire a coach.
Oh yeah, you can't go coachless next year.
And they're not just going to get Biff Pogge's is not going to be the head coach next year.
I wish.
I don't think.
That's my guy, man. Number one head coach that looks like he just rolled out of bed. Sign me up for it.
Side note, did you know Biff Pogge, hedge fund millionaire?
Whoa. What? I beg your pardon?
It gets crazy. Anyway, moving forward, they're going to have to hire a coach. I know I wanted to just leave you with that. They're going to have to hire a coach. They're not going to settle for just any coach. They are going to make a splash hire. Something is going to trickle down from this hire, whether it's an NFL guy or whether it's a college guy. They're going to make a major hire.
Yeah, and almost like you have to satisfy that fan base. I don't think, unless you get somebody who knows just like for 1 year, you do the 1 year thing with what the Houston Texans did to poor David Culley. You're here for 1 year and you will not be back the next. Or the Patriots with Gerard Mayo.
Yeah.
You're here for 1 year and no matter what happens, we're getting somebody else next.
I honestly thought that's what Sherrone Moore's deal was. Honestly, I don't know how long his stay was going to be anyway.
Yeah, I kind of thought the same thing. Because it seemed like underwhelming for the Michigan job, just elevating the offensive coordinator. Now, granted, he was the acting head coach in a win at Penn State and a win against Ohio State, right? Because those are 2 games Harbaugh was suspended for. And then being a part of that national championship run, maybe some leeway. But I figured, once you got a chance to really get into a coaching cycle, that you'd try to make a splash. That's
how I kind of assumed it was going to go, and I thought Sherrone would just link back up with Jim in the pros. That's what I thought. It obviously did not happen that way. Never rule anything out, but
right.
Yeah, so I don't know what's going to happen with Michigan, but there will be a major splash and shakeup throughout the rest of the football industry based on them making a hire.
Now, last night, the SEC Network unveiled the schedules of the SEC play for teams. We'll tell you about South Carolina's schedule in case you missed it, coming up next. Still some more song submissions for our Gamecock football Spotify Wrapped, even coming from Jen Jensen. She's not on the show today, but does not mean she is not here in spirit. And she texted us and said, Taylor Swift, we are never, ever getting back together in regards to some of the coaching changes.
Fire.
It fits. Very appropriate. One texter says, so you had a bad day. The Daniel Powder one-hit wonder we were talking about earlier says should now be solely reserved for Sharon Moore's Wednesday, like retiring a jersey. No one else gets that song now.
The worst day.
Maybe the worst one possible. Also didn't think we'd ever get a Milli Vanilli sighting or mention on this show ever. Blame It on the Rain.
Very fascinating story. If you go back and listen, those songs weren't as bad. Get a bad rap.
Well, because of, the whole faking it thing. Yeah, I might tarnish it a little bit. So it's one of those things, like, if you were just even lukewarm on them and it came out that none of it was real, then you hate it even more. Because, like, if you're going to fake it, make some, like A+ bangers,
Yeah.
If you're going to fake it, do that. Mike says Wyclef Jean gone till November.
Solid one.
That's good.
I have a very controversial take here that I know one of your favorite albums is The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill.
Yes, and one of the best songs in that album is a diss track towards Wyclef Jean. Yes, yeah, fully aware. Great song, which I'll always be Team Lauryn Hill forever for that. I don't want to know any backstory. I don't want to, because I don't want to have my mind changed. So I don't even want to know it.
Gone to November, great pick though.
Absolutely fantastic, priceless pick. GM says Something in the Water Does Not Compute by Prince.
Nice.
We've had multiple Prince songs.
Deep cut Prince right there.
Two
kind of deep cut Princes. I like this.
That is quite the deep cut there.
That's deep cut Prince right there. I like it.
Justin says Tammy Wynette, Stand By Your Man. One more year for Shane. We're here to cover all genres too. That's the best part of this. We're here to cover every single genre that we can in all of this. So many. Hard Times by Paramore from Matt. So thank you for that one. But told you we would discuss the schedule, because the schedule is out.
Hayley Williams solo album out now. Paramore. Any Paramore fans out there? Hayley Williams has a solo album. It's very good.
One of this is the most Nashville, Tennessee thing possible. So like I love listening to Paramore, but I didn't see them live until I was much older, or like in the last 3 or 4 years. But when I was in college, I was working at a Target in Cool Springs, and this young woman comes up and asks me to get, she's looking for a specific thing of bedding that was not on the shelf. And I said, yeah, wait right here. I'll go back and get it. I'll come back, and I go to the stock room, I get it, I bring it back and hand it to her. She walks up to the front. It's an interaction I have numerous times per working at said Target, right? And one of my female coworkers goes up and goes, oh my God, you just handed Hayley Williams bedding. And I was like, that's her? I just had no idea, had no clue. She's like, yeah, you should have gotten a picture or something. I'm like, well, I didn't know, I didn't recognize the face. I know the singing voice.
If she would have sung it to you, then you'd be like, oh yeah.
Yeah, if she would have sung, can you get me this bedding or anything like that? Then yeah, maybe I could have been like, oh wait, you're Hayley Williams. But no, it never computed, because I didn't even know what her face looked like. I listened to and consumed the music. I never was mega fan enough to just be able to have instant facial recognition in real time. But I can always say I helped Hayley Williams out with some bedding at a Target in Cool Springs, Tennessee.
Any Paramore fans out there? Solo album.
Coming out. Don't miss it. But South Carolina, not a solo album. This is a team sport. The schedule is out for next year, and we have it official. You're starting off September 5th against the Fighting Julian Edelmans of Kent State. You have Towson September 12th, also at home. First SEC home game, September 19th against Mississippi State. Then you go on the road to finish your September in Tuscaloosa against Alabama. You will face first-year head coach Will Stein at Kentucky October 3rd, also at Williams-Brice. You take your first trip back to the Swamp since 2022 on October 10th the next week. The bye week will be October 17th. October 24th, you'll be hosting Tennessee for the first time since the upset win in 2022. Then on Halloween, you'll be at Oklahoma. November 7th, home against Texas A&M. November 14th, on the road in Fayetteville to play the Hogs. November 21st, the last home game of the year against Georgia. And then you go at Clemson, to end the season. Preston Thorne, you're looking at the schedule, you hear the schedule. Your initial thought when looking at the slate for next year is?
I'll give you 3. First, let's go in order. First off, we're set up for success early. Shane needs it. We need it as fans. Everybody needs to have success early. So Kent State, Towson, early, that's really a great way to start. Introduce the new offense, get some fireworks going at home. That could be really cool. Second, the bye week is approximately mid-season. Really good spot for that.
I like it.
We'll have a good idea of who the team is, what the team is looking at for the rest of the year. The bye week being on October 17th, great spot for that. Last, don't like Georgia being at the end of the year. Don't love having to play them at that moment. So, good, ugly is Georgia at the end of the year.
My thing with the Georgia game is because I get like the obvious thing, right? The obvious thing is, oh man, like the last couple of years, you've had tune-ups going into the Clemson game. Now you have Georgia coming to town before having to play Clemson. Like that, those 2 games to end the season, incredibly tough. But my bigger takeaway is that used to always be the SEC opener. It was so fun. Like that to me personally, like it's in my life. The 2 matchups in the SEC East that always signaled, okay, football season is real now, was South Carolina and Georgia playing and Tennessee, Florida playing. Like those 2, usually back-to-back weekends. Sometimes the one will be first and then the other after that. Were always the 2 matchups where, okay, we can, like the SEC East is kicked off, like we're playing in standings mode now. I really was hoping that Georgia
and again,
would be the SEC opener.
As a fan base, that was sort of our barometer of what the season was going to look like. Can we slip up and beat Georgia? Are we competitive? What's the deal? What's the situation? And that series has been good for the whole year. But for me, it's not about, obviously Georgia is who they are, but it's not about playing a good team going into Clemson. It's about playing that team who's extremely physical.
Yeah.
And they're going to kind of take you through the ringer. Don't love playing that before the Clemson game. But whatever, you got to sign up and play who you play when you play them.
Get ready, Kendall Briles. Your last 2 weeks of the first season, you're playing against a Kirby Smart defense, and then the rivalry game against Clemson after that. Get introduction to a first year.
Yeah, and I'm just kind of going through that. I mean, TCU, Baylor, I guess, whatever. I'm trying to think, has Kendall Briles really coached in a rivalry game of this magnitude?
You telling me the battle for the iron skillet between SMU and TCU isn't?
I guess it's cool.
Cool trophy.
Yeah.
Cool
Cooler
award.
trophy.
Yes. Cooler trophy doesn't have the same history.
Right.
And definitely nowhere near the same level of hatred. But I just wanted an excuse to say that those 2 teams play for a skillet.
Solid.
Very uniquely college football. That's a winner of a trophy. Well, we'll give you our winners for today's show coming up next here in the early game.
winners.
And every day, our winners are brought to you by the Golden Spur, and I've got a few winners. And I want to start off, Preston Thorne, with some nostalgia here, because my big winner for today's show, the real SEC East. All right, Missouri, get out of here. But South Carolina will be playing Tennessee next year. They will be playing Florida in the Swamp next year. They will be hosting Georgia. Really, all we're missing is Vanderbilt. But you got almost every single traditional SEC East opponent on the schedule, and that warms my pre-2013 football-loving heart, which is cold and dead.
So I will stay with nostalgia. I think that's a good one. I'm going to stay with nostalgia. Rise up. Shout out to my brother Tyler over here. We had an elite uniform matchup last night.
Yes, we
Beautiful
did.
uniforms in honor of Tyler being our resident uniform guy. I haven't been on the Falcons bandwagon for a long time, but why aren't these just the uniforms? What are we doing? These are clearly
They're
the
awesome.
best uniforms that they have. Every time they try them out, I'm like, those are awesome. And then they put them away and they use them the other uniforms. So the creamsicles versus the Atlanta uniforms last night was a beautiful thing, and the Falcons won. Rise up.
Walk-off field goal. And a meltdown on the sideline from Mike Evans. Apparently a meltdown in the postgame presser by Todd Bowles, who dropped F-bombs.
That does not feel like Todd Bowles at all.
Well, when you start off 6-2 and now you're 7-7 and technically a half game behind the Carolina Panthers, who are in first place of the NFC South, then maybe the situation constitutes some F-bomb dropping from Todd Bowles, which leads me to another winner of mine, Kirk Cousins. He's back. Your boy who's been on Kirk Cousins Island for at least a decade now. Kirk Cousins goes 30 for 44, 373 yards, 3 touchdowns. You know what? And it took about 5 years, but you know what? This is the Kyle Pitts that was promised.
Yeah, I know. Where'd this guy come from?
I was expecting 11 catches for 166 yards and 3 touchdowns every game for Kyle Pitts when he's coming out of Florida.
That's what he looked like.
But he's finally fulfilling that promise a little bit. Better late than never. But Kirk Cousins specifically, you like that as a winner.
You like that?
373 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks.
Amazingly, I also saw a social media video where the Atlanta players were talking about the types of outfits that they like wearing. And Kirk Cousins had on a very Kirk Cousin-esque cardigan. It was as if it was from Central Casting. Like they just got wardrobe. Kirk Cousins wardrobe. Here you go.
Yep, here you go.
But he went and balled out as he should. Like Kurt, man. Kurt, legend at the bank for sure.
Oh yes.
I'm gonna give a winner to Jalen Kilgore. Congratulations.
Yeah, congrats.
Hey, man, if you see your future in front of you and you want to go get it, he's declared early. He's declared that he's going to forego his last year and enter into the NFL process. I think that's really awesome for him, especially if he has some intel that says that he can do it. And I think one of the things you see is like, hey, man, Nick is out there playing very well. I played with that dude last year. I can play in the NFL.
Yep.
If he's playing, I can play. So shout out to him. That's a really awesome step for him.
And in turn, that makes Clayton White a winner, because you know what Clayton White can and Coach Gray, you know what they can do to recruits? They can say, hey, look, sent these dudes to the NFL, and not only did they go to the NFL, they went to the NFL early, right? They didn't have to stay all 4 years to be NFL talents and NFL-type players. They were able to leave early and make impacts. That's a pretty good bargaining chip for any type of defensive coordinator or any person who's recruiting the defensive side of the ball.
I mean, staying on that path, Brandon Cisse also is declaring. Same situation. You can say, hey, you come here, you can get developed, because Brandon was good, obviously, but he had a great year this year and really propelled himself. So that's definitely some more feathers in the cap for Clayton White and Coach Gray.
Another winner brought to you by Golden Spur, Counting Crows.
Okay. I told you, documentary.
A documentary's coming out along December. One of my all-time favorite songs, and also brought up on the Firehouse Subtext line. We were giving our Spotify Wrapped for the Gamecocks football season. Great day. You know what I'm going to do when I drive home today? We're listening to the Counting Crows. It's a Counting Crows day.
You going to do it?
We're going to do it.
All right. Okay.
We're going to do it. The drive home playlist has already been mentally created here in my mind.
Shout out to the listeners, man. Great Spotify, great songs that you bring. We will create a playlist. We will keep this playlist ongoing, but you all obviously came through with some bangers of songs today. The Smiths might be the winner of Sad Boy music today.
We did have multiple Smith submissions. And in terms of if you are subscribing to Sad Boy season of 2025, which who could blame you, the Smiths provide the entire soundtrack to a Sad Boy season. Like, emo before Midwestern emo really kind of took the genre and pushed it off a cliff.
Before we leave, get up one time for the Bulldogs. Going to the Celebration Bowl this weekend.
Hopefully they are winners this weekend.
Hopefully they're going to take on, they are taking on Prairie View A&M. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, upset Jackson State.
Upset Jackson State, so we'll be checking that out. So good luck to all the Bulldogs and Bulldogs fans out there for the Celebration Bowl. Chinnisberry, obviously a winner.
Yeah. You know what? I've picked a side in the MEAC SWAC thing. And obviously, I'm cheering for South Carolina State because of staterism. But the SWAC taking teams from the MEAC, Bush League.
Yep.
Teams, traditional MEAC teams leaving to go to the CAA, ridiculous. Get out of here. You're ruining a great historic thing, right? And the SWAC stealing from the MEAC, like, come on, not cool. So it doesn't matter who plays in Celebration Bowl every year. I will be cheering for the MEAC. Yes, I am Team MEAC here. MEAC winners in my book. Tyler Head and the extra point. That's next.